Iqbal Mohamed.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak in this crucial debate today, and I welcome the announcements by the Secretary of State and the Government on the work that it plans to do and the investment that has been announced. We all agree that every child in this country, regardless of postcode, parent or circumstance, deserves the best possible start in life. That is not just a slogan, it's a moral duty. It is a political choice, and it is the foundation for a fairer, stronger and more prosperous Britain, and a critical contributor to the government's growth mission. I am extremely grateful for the opportunities afforded to me when I was a child. I'm the eldest of 6. My mother was a homemaker, my father worked in a factory and then fell ill, and he was supported by the state. I had free school meals, I had free school uniforms, and I had the opportunity to go to university without incurring tens of thousands of pounds in debt. And I wish for the same opportunities and more for every single child in our country going forward. But today, far too many children are being failed by a system that is stretched, fragmented and underfunded. We are the 6th largest economy in the world, and yet have rising child poverty, overstretched early years services and a widening attainment and life expectancy gap between the richest and the rest. It doesn't have to be this way. We can and must do better. Madam Deputy Speaker, if we are serious about giving every child the best start in life, we must start before birth. A child's life chances are shaped long before they take their first breath. The health and well-being of pregnant women and new mothers is critical, not only for safe delivery, but for the emotional and physical development of the child. And yet, across the UK today, midwife staffing levels are dangerously low. Pre- and postnatal support is patchy and inconsistent. There is real maternity service inequalities for ethnic minorities and areas of deprivation, and maternal health needs are too often ignored. So I would urge the government to take a holistic view and review the current state of maternity services across our nation and regions, and to put in the relevant required investments to equalise those services and make them fit for purpose. So this is not just a health issue, it's a social justice issue, because the poorest woman, often at the highest risk of complications, are least likely to receive the care they need. So investment in maternal care is investing in stronger families, healthier babies and a better future for all. Continuing where life continues, the early years. The science is clear and has been mentioned by my honourable and right honourable friends. A child's brain develops faster from birth to 5 than at any other time. These years shape everything from health and happiness to educational success and economic opportunity. So why is it that access to high quality early education is still a postcode lottery? Why are childcare workers doing some of the most vital work in our society paid less than supermarket staff? We must deliver universal high quality childcare from the end of parental leave to the start of school, and I welcome the government's announcements and investment in this area. So we must invest. I fully support the government's plans to invest in early years workforce, and we must make quality, not just quantity, a measure of success. Moving on to families. Families are the first and foremost influence on a child's life, yet support for families has been dismantled over the last 14 years. Health visitors have been cut, Sure Start centres were closed, and too many parents are left to struggle alone. So I welcome the government's plans to rebuild family hubs in every community, rebuild our health visiting service, rebuilding trust by giving parents real support and not judgment. One of the biggest issues facing how well a child will do in their life is where they were born and the income available to their family. Across the UK, child poverty has been rising. According to the Child Poverty Action Group, 1.6 million children are now affected by the two-child benefit cap. That's 1.6 children whose futures are being limited by a government policy, not by anything they've done or anything their families have failed to do, but by a decision to deny them the support they need to grow and thrive. In Dewsbury and Backley, over 11,800 children are growing up in poverty. More than half of them live in working households. These are families doing everything asked of them, going to work, trying to save, but still unable to meet their child's basic needs. One parent shared with me, we live in a 2-bed flat with 3 children. I have to cycle to work because travel costs would push us into deficit. An extra £50 a week would make a huge difference. That £50 could mean a warm coat, a school trip, proper meals for a week. It could mean a child arriving in classroom ready to learn and not hungry and anxious. So what kind of country does that to its children? We say we want every child to have the best start in life, but how can that happen if policies deliberately push them into hardship from birth? So reducing child poverty isn't just a moral obligation, it's a smart investment. It leads to better health, better education outcomes, higher future earnings, increased tax revenue. Children are not a cost to be capped, they are our country's future. We must also tackle the mental health crisis affecting our children and young people. CAMS, as we know and have heard many times in this chamber, is overwhelmed. Children are waiting months, sometimes years, for help. So we need in-school mental health support teams in every school. We need early intervention, not crisis firefighting. And we must train staff across education and early years in trauma-informed practice. Moving on to education, as I mentioned, I was blessed with the opportunity to go to school and I can't remember going to school on an empty stomach. So the work that my father did, or the support that the government provided in terms of welfare and benefits, made sure that I went to school not hungry. I had free school meals and I came home to a warm meal. This, I'm sure, made a huge difference to what I've been able to achieve in life. So education should be the great leveller. But in reality, the attainment gap between disadvantaged children and their peers is growing, not shrinking. We must strengthen the pupil premium, restore funding for early literacy and numeracy, and yes, expand free school meals to every primary pupil, because no child should learn on an empty stomach. I do welcome the government's announcement to provide free school meals for every child whose family is on universal credit, but I would encourage and gently urge the government to consider expanding that so it's a universal benefit. So in conclusion, Madam Deputy Speaker, this is not about short-term fixes. This is about long-term nation building and solutions. A country that invests in its youngest, that supports its mothers, that refuses to accept inequality is inevitable. Because when we give children the best start in life, we all benefit, with lower crime, better health, stronger communities, and a more productive economy. So let us rise to the moment, let us stop managing decline and start investing in potential. Let us give every child in every corner of this country the best start in life. Thank you.